What makes you a great horror director?
What makes me a great horror director? I don't know if I am a great horror director.
Sorry to put that that label on you here.
What I hope makes me a passable horror director is the same thing that I hope would make me a passable director in general, which is focus on story, focus on character, which is so lame to say because it's such a cliche, but it's just so true. That's what makes an experience for the audience. And then the shock and the horror and the gore of it all, that's all kind of ornamentation on top, but the basic structure still has to be a very solid foundation in storytelling. And that means to always be very aware where the audience is at any given moment in time. What is the information they're processing right now? What are the emotions that they might be fighting, that might be raging inside of them? Hopefully, if you've done your job, I think it's almost like resource management in terms of the audience's energy, attention, and emotional involvement. I think that's kind of the backbone of any directing. You know, it starts with the writing, obviously, that a script has a certain structure to kind of, it's like this roller coaster that the audience is being taken on, and then you are, as the director, the person that takes the blueprints of that roller coaster, builds the roller coaster, and then finesses the roller coaster, always with the audience kind of simulated in your head, which is really hard because you've sat so long with the script and with the characters that you have almost lost touch with what it's like to experience it for the first time. And yet you are building it for people that are experiencing it for the first time. Which to me, which is why the whole test viewing process that I know many filmmakers despise, to me is actually a really important one. It's depressing, and I want to kill myself every time after a test screening because you get all these problems that you didn't even know you had and your film had, and you felt pretty good about it. And after a test screening, you are sure to feel shitty about your film. But it's so important because it's the first time that an audience that sees it for the first time tells you their opinion. And if you don't listen, you're kind of lost. And that took me a while to figure out. So I would hope that what makes me a good director is how closely I can simulate the audience experience in my mind.
Yeah, years ago, I'd gone to a few of those test screenings where people would just hand you the passes, on the street, and they always made sure that you weren't in the entertainment industry. Right. And I found that very interesting because you're going to have a different perspective. And this was probably like 15 years ago. So my perspective on storytelling would be much different than it is now.
Right.
But yeah, I remember just the detail of why they wanted to know certain things, the rating.
It's always with these test screenings, what's so interesting to me is that by the time that you do the test screening, you've worked on it for so long that you're obsessing over these details. Oh, there's that one take in there where she doesn't fully turn, it destroys the movie. And then you test screen the thing, and not only do they not have a problem with that take, they have a problem with something much more basic and much more fundamental in the first act, which is like, oh, I don't think this should be a horror movie, this should be a musical. And you go like, what are we talking? But that is how people consume these things. And same for me, when a friend gives me, let's say, a rough cut, and I give notes on that, do I then want to see the final movie? If I do, I always have the feeling that's the same as the rough cut. Of course, if I had sat in the editing room with my friend doing the notes, I would know that this is a completely different animal from what I saw 2 months ago. But just as an audience, I take in what the rough story is, what the rough conflicts are, whether I like the characters or not, and I have no real interest in whether that take is a little bit underdeveloped or overexposed or whatever. It's the broad brushstrokes. And that is something you have to try to get back to as a director when you test screen your movie. And that's really hurtful. It really is a dangerous, difficult process to kind of get back into that mindset and then flip back out of it and be detail-oriented again. It's kind of a schizophrenic process a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder how much focus groups and things like that, whether it's product testing or whatever, are really that helpful, or the fact that you were there to, quote, pick something apart.
Right.
I wonder, yeah, if you really...
Well, my test screening, that is not really that big marketing test screening. It's more like a group of my friends that see it for the first time, where I know exactly what their tastes are, what they like, what they don't like, and if someone loves, let's say, this kind of scene, but has a problem with that scene, then I better listen to what that person has to say, because there's probably something in it, which to me is different from a big marketing kind of survey where I don't know who these people are. There's still something valuable in it to hear from the general audience kind of a thing, but it's much more valuable to have 10 hand-picked people that you also, if you do a couple of test screenings, different stages of your film, that you have very much in mind whom to invite when, who is the most helpful when, whom do I want to hear from right after the shoot when I just show them some dailies. Is that the most helpful for that person and how that person gives feedback? Or is it more helpful to edit the movie, polish it, and then let that person see the cut right before I lock it? You know, there are those people, and at some point after you've done it a couple of times, you kind of know your feedback people and when to go to whom.